At the surface, we may look quote unquote normal, but underneath, how many of us are fighting battles that others are not aware of? Join me this week as I sit down with Aimee Goodwin of New Hope Wellness in Minnesota, and we talk about her chronic Lyme journey and her experience with the medical model and what inspired New Hope to be born. Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an East Asian medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women to live their best lives. My goal is to put you in the driver's seat of your health, offering holistic solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are, I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show. Welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. I am joined today by Aimee Goodwin. Welcome to the show, Aimee.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So Aimee and I had a very interesting conversation before we hit record around her journey to the work that she does now. And I was like, oh, you'd be a perfect fit for this podcast. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you if you can share with the listeners who you are and what you do.
Well, I am Aimee Goodwin. I am a life coach and an emotional resilience trainer. I own New Hope Wellness in Minnesota, in Alexandria, Minnesota, where we treat chronic Lyme disease and, of course, acute Lyme as well. We are a specialty wellness center, and I say we're a specialty wellness center because we really specialize in the things that we do here because we treat chronic Lyme. We do a lot of things very well. Obviously, we treat Lyme, and we do that very well. But we do gut health really well. We do the immune system really well. And we do mental health really well. So I run my own practice for life coaching out of this office as well. And we have a counselor here that works with me here as well. And so, yeah, I'm an author, published author, and have a new book out, The Mountains We Climb, which was an Amazon bestselling book when it was out. And so, yeah, I'm just living the dream right now.
Well, congratulations on the release of that book. We'll have a link for that in the show notes so that you can check out Aimee's book. But Aimee had a really gut-wrenching story that brought her to the work that she does now. And so if you could share with the listeners, like this work with Lyme and with health coaching arose out of a need that you saw, like so many of us that work in these kinds of fields and start this kind of work. We're here to solve and meet an unmet need in the public. So tell us a little bit about how you started the practice that you are working in now.
Yeah. Well, I have my own journey with Lyme disease, and that's how I got to where I am here. And if somebody would have told me 20 years ago that I would be sitting in the chair I'm sitting in, I wouldn't have probably believed you. I was somebody who was very healthy, and I was a young, healthy mom. I just had my fourth son. I was about a year out from my last pregnancy, and I was in that mode of getting healthy, getting back in shape. I was going to the gym 4 days a week, feeling really strong, honestly. And I went from feeling that just great feeling of strength to being so sick I had to cancel my gym membership in about 3 months' time. One night I was at the gym and I experienced like this strange tremor in my leg. I had a weird tremor that was on my right side. It was in that muscle that goes from your knee to your ankle. And I kind of felt it was on the elliptical. I got off and I started walking around the gym thinking I'd strained something. And from there, my symptoms really developed quite rapidly. I developed a strange buzzing sensation. It was a neurological sensation that started in my feet and eventually spread through my whole body, even to my head and my scalp and my lungs. And I describe it as sitting on like a four-wheeler or a motorcycle that's idling. No medication, no doctor touched that in 4 years. It was just this horrible neurological symptom that I dealt with. And following that same track, pain followed that. My feet became super painful. My whole body, every joint, my knee, everything, all my big joints, every nerve that could possibly hurt. And I tell people I could feel the fascia. If everybody knows what your fascia is, I could feel the fascia in my body. I had so much little nerve, prickly nerve pain and severe exhaustion, anxiety for what was happening to my body. And very quickly, this condition just became, a big controlling factor in my life. I'm somebody who's pretty stubborn. I'm a tough person. I consider myself pretty strong. And this was not something I could power through. This was something very quickly I realized I was going to need help with. And so I went to the doctor. That started the parade of doctors, is what I call it. Went to the doctor. They had no idea what was wrong with me. They started running all sorts of tests, all the neurological things, Lou Gehrig's, MS, all of the gamut of things. That went on for years, honestly. But eventually I was told that all my tests were normal. Nothing was wrong with me. This was all in my head, and there was nothing anybody could do for me. And I was even told by a doctor one time that I was just depressed. I was so depressed. I didn't even know I was depressed. And I was like, is that a thing? Because I feel like if I was that depressed, I'd probably know that I was that depressed. But yeah, it was just sort of just one gaslighting incident after another. And I ended up in pain management with a pain management doctor just to manage my pain so that I could deal with daily life, where I frankly lived with Vicodin for the next 5 years of my life because there were just no answers came for me for 5 years. And I don't believe in coincidences. I've lived this life long enough to know that everything happens for a reason. And my mom is a nurse. She'd been a nurse for many years, and she's a wonderful nurse. And she was on her way to work one day. She was listening to a radio station where there was a doctor. It was a retired doctor. She was out working just in a grassroots effort, really, to try to spread the word on Lyme disease. And I think there was like a big push going on for the Under Our Skin documentary at the time. And it was fairly new. And so they were pushing that, trying to get awareness out. And my mom heard that and heard some of the stories of these people. She became very excited. She called me as soon as she got to work. I got this early morning phone call, and she was just super excited. You have to check this out. This is something you got to look into. And I wasn't super excited about it because I just had the experience of going to so many doctors and trying everything I could think of, and just never was to no avail, right? Like I was still sick and was never really heard. But she said her last words to me were, "Aimee, these are your people. You have to check this out." And she went to work. And I didn't know anyone like me. So those words really got me off the couch. Back in those days, we had to get off the couch, go to the computer because we didn't have our phones. That's going to age me a little bit. So I had to get off the couch, go to the computer, and I looked up the documentary Under Our Skin, and I sat at the computer for probably a good hour. I was just absorbed into the Lyme world, and I listening to these people's stories, listening to these patients in Lyme, listening to the doctors, listening to everything. And Mom was right. I could have been these people. I could have been in this documentary. These were my people. And so that was how I first heard of Lyme. I never even heard of Lyme in Minnesota before that, which is crazy to think about now with all the ticks that we've had. And so from there was a journey to find my Lyme doctor. It took me about a year. There was really nobody treating here in Minnesota at the time. I ended up flying to California to see Dr. Harris, and I have no qualms with saying that he saved my life. And he's quite humble about that and says that your body just did well with treatment and blah, blah, blah. But I was quite sick by the time I got to him. I was dragging a leg when I walked. I'm a singer, and I was unable to control my muscles in my throat anymore. So I couldn't sing anymore and couldn't carry a gallon of milk or clean my house or anything like that. And he gave me my life back. Having a doctor that knew what he was doing, knew how to treat the disease I was treating, knew how to diagnose me, for one thing, because getting a diagnosis for Lyme was a whole other thing in that day and age, and still isn't easy, but he saved my life. So from there, I went on to get very involved in the Lyme world here in Minnesota. I worked with Minnesota Lyme Association. I started support groups for a while with them. And I tell people New Hope really was born out of frustration for what we didn't have. People of Lyme did not have a resource center. They didn't have a place where they could go and get treatments and have all the other therapies that they needed to help them. I had friends in the Lyme community who were going to Wisconsin for doctors and then going clear across the state for some other therapy, or out of state for another therapy, right? And that just seemed ludicrous to me. The questions started coming to my mind. Why don't we have this center? Why don't we have a place for people? Why don't we have the place where we can have groundbreaking treatments? We can have support. We can have all the resources that they need. And that pretty turned into, we need this place, which turned into, I'm doing this, which turned into New Hope Wellness here in Alexandria, Minnesota. So there was a need. And I guess I'm somebody who I couldn't ever just turn my back on people who really in the Lyme community, there's so much help that is needed. And when you're somebody who's made it through a fight like that, you have to turn around and help those through that if you know how to get out.
Oh, that's such a powerful story. And I'm sure as you guys listen to Aimee's story, you know exactly why I wanted to have her on the show, because so many of us are touched by Lyme in some way. And it's becoming more and more common for that to be the case. And when you were coming through your journey, there was so little awareness around it in general. And I remember I am this similar vintage. So I had to get off the couch to go use the computer also. So I resonate with that deeply. But, you know, Lyme is so much more than just the symptoms too, because it's how you feel about yourselves. It's the emotional toll that it takes. I mean, the fact that you couldn't even carry a gallon of milk, like, for people listening, like, just think about how deeply that impacts your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And you had 4 boys? Yeah.
I had 4 boys. And when I got sick, my youngest was only a year old.
Wow.
So I had a cool story I write about in my first book, Victory, a Lyme story, where my boys, especially my 4-year-old, I was sick for 5 years. I treated for 2 years. For 7 years of their lives, I was really sick. And yeah, there's such an emotional toll there. There's so many things you miss out on as a mom. And I tried not to. Again, I'm a really stubborn individual. But every step when you're dealing with chronic illness or pain, and anybody, whether it's Lyme or any other kind of chronic illness, you understand what I say when I say every step is measured. If you decide to go to the track meet, you know that you're going to pay for that tonight, right?
Mhm.
That day is trash. The next day, trash too, probably.
Yeah.
And my kids, we were all huge outdoorsmen. And so they loved to be outside fishing and tromping every riverbank. And I didn't want to miss it, but there were things that I missed and there's things I couldn't do. So one day my kids were all played baseball. And so I wanted to go out and play baseball. And so we all had to play because there was only 6 of us. And so we were all playing and there was 4 boys and my husband and I, and everybody was out. So I always had to pitch because holding a bat and swinging a bat was just too hard for me. But this was towards like the end of my treatment. So I was doing really good. And so I was pitching, but everybody was out of field and everybody was on base. So they're like, Mom, you're going to have to hit, Mom. And so I was like, all right, I'll hit. And so I got up to bat and I was very athletic in high school. I played sports. I loved playing softball. And so I hit the ball and went way over everybody's head and it was a home run. But my boys, a couple of them, they would just watch that ball go and they just stood there and I just watched it go. And one of my kids goes, run. So we went running around the bases. But I remember thinking about that later and I was laying in bed that night. And again, this was towards the end of my treatment. I still had a PICC line in at this time. But I remember feeling so victorious at that point. And it was so much fun because my kids were so shocked when I hit that ball and we all went flying into motion. And I thought they'd never seen me do that before because I'd always been sick and I'd never been able to do it. So for me, it was such a victorious moment, but also a really sad moment as well, because wow, they've missed out. I missed out. They've missed out. They didn't get to see that side of me. So it was a happy moment, but also a moment of grief as well. And there is grief going back to the emotions of being chronically sick. Like there's shame, there's grief that you carry when there's things that you miss out on and there's things that you can't do.
Absolutely. One of the things about your story that stuck out to me when we talked before the recording was about how the medical community responded to your symptoms and to your care. One of your doctors accused you of seeking pills.
Oh, more than once. I was accused of drug seeking.
I mean, that's insane. Like
Yeah.
you are dealing with chronic pain.
Horrible pain.
And it's one more thing that just reinforces this, now where do I go kind of feeling.
Yeah. And that added to the shame too, right? Because again, I mean, I think we all are proud, right? Like all women, we're proud. We want to do what we can do. We're in charge of our families. There's certain amount of things we want to get done. We want to take care of our children, right? Like we have those responsibilities and we take pride in that. And I couldn't do it. Like I said, I couldn't carry a gallon of milk. I was a stay-at-home mom and I had to hire somebody to come clean my house because I couldn't push a vacuum cleaner. I couldn't fold laundry. And the pain in my hands was so intense. I couldn't grip my hands. I couldn't walk on a floor. It was so painful. But to the outside, I looked fine. Like people looking at me, like there were many people in my life who had no idea that I was even sick, And so, yeah, I had doctors who accused me of that. I had nurses who would accuse me of that when I was calling in for a refill and that's so hard. Having doctors tell you this is all in your mind. And that is not a unique story. Across the board in Lyme, I talk to people in my office every day who have had those experiences. And the really hard part of that is that creates such a stigma. I call that a white coat syndrome. That's just my own. But what happens with that is when people do need help, because this is a heavy disease. So when they do need help, when the road does get really long, when they do have a day where they need to reach out to somebody, suicide numbers in Lyme are high. They won't do it because that doctor can't be right. That person can't be right. That person said I was crazy and I can't be crazy, right? If I reach out and I need help with this mental health aspect of Lyme, then they're right. I can't validate them. And so instead of reaching out and getting help, we suffer by ourselves. And that's, I think, part of it that nobody really talks about.
And now a break from our conversation for a partnership message. You've been told to hustle, grind, wake up early, and do more. But here's the truth. Rest is the most productive thing you can do. And the right kind of rest starts with Sia Silk Sleep Mask, your new sleep sanctuary. I've tried so many sleep masks, and I thought I just had to deal with the discomfort of slipping straps and light still getting through. But then I found this one, and I'm never going back. Made of 100% mulberry silk, it's the only mask that creates total blackout with its comfortable oversized eye cups that don't smush my lashes while feeling weightless on my face. My sleep, next level. This isn't just a sleep mask, it's an investment in your nervous system. Sia Silk is a women-owned small business committed to high quality and sustainable luxury. Check out the show notes for the link to grab yours and rest like you mean it. And now, back to the show. I think that's an important part to talk about. Can you elaborate a little further in terms of what you've seen in your practice and your own experience with all of this?
Well, just what I just said. And I've been in the Lyme world for a long time now, close to 15 years or more. I've been more than that. And I've been to funerals of people who did not make it in Lyme because the mental strain of it was too bad. And we see depression in Lyme. We see high depression in Lyme. We see anxiety in Lyme. We see rage in Lyme. We see very huge overwhelm in Lyme. And we see it for a few reasons. We see it, one, because the bacteria itself can actually break that blood-brain barrier that is set there to protect the brain. Because of the type of bacteria, it is able to break that. So we literally get the bacteria in our brain. It's little corkscrew bacteria, and it causes your brain to inflame. And then when we're dealing with an inflamed brain, we can deal with extreme cases of overwhelm, anxiety, depression. And in children, that diagnosis is PANS, and we see that in kids in an extreme way. And that is very common in Lyme. And then we see it in Lyme because Lyme disease takes the life that you love away from you and gives you back a life that's not that great. And it's difficult, it's painful, it's hard. The people around you don't understand you. Doctors don't understand you. You go through medical gaslighting. It's hard to get a diagnosis. It's hard to get a doctor who can treat. Like, we have people who fly here to see us. We have people who drive across the states to see us. And they do that because they have been through everything I went through. They will do anything to get to a doctor who they can sit across from who understands them. So the silent part of the suffering of Lyme is the mental health aspect of it. And that's really, I'm very passionate about that. And we have things set up here at our clinic where that is a portion of what we do here. Every new patient that comes to our center, literally sees myself and our counselor at their first visit, whether they think they need it or not. They see us. We want them to have our faces in their heads so that if they get to that point of their time, they are calling us and getting in with us, having a conversation with us so that they're not in a place where they don't know who to call or on a waiting list somewhere with somebody who doesn't know how to help them for 6 months down the road. That's how we lose people.
That's so important. I
Mhm.
mean, mental health is hard everywhere right now,
Yeah.
in general, particularly after the pandemic. But when you're
Yeah.
looking at this very specific set of needs and how uniquely Lyme can present in different bodies, like it's very easy for people in the traditional model to be labeled as you're just being overly dramatic or emotional about this, and it makes you feel crazy. And you start
Mhm.
questioning, well, really, are my symptoms as bad as I feel like they are?
Yeah.
But they're taking me out of my life, so I feel pretty bad about them. And that toll that it takes on you internally. And I mean, this is a similar experience with anybody who has a chronic illness. Like, I have celiac and I can resonate with that because
Mhm.
I've had many years of my life where I have felt like my body was betraying me.
Yeah.
And the shame and the guilt and the frustration over being a young person who at one point was so incontinent, I knew where every public bathroom was because my system
Yeah.
just couldn't handle eating. But from the outside, I looked like a
Perfectly normal.
perfectly fine mid-20s something
Yeah.
and was fighting that battle. So it's really important, I think, for these kinds of conversations to be out there for people because so many of us are fighting battles that may not look on the outside like the scars that we have on the inside.
Oh, 100%. It's so important to create that empathy. And I think that's something I've seen as a life coach that sort of disappeared a little bit during COVID. And opinions be what they are through COVID, but you put a mask on somebody and you encourage distance from people, and there was disconnect in humanity. And I think that's coming back around now. But in my office, I can't tell you how many people I had in here who were struggling with disconnect in families and in friendships. And that's what happened. And we became more comfortable as a society, I think, being judgmental, being rude to people. I think we all experienced that, like in traffic and the grocery store. And it was difficult. It was difficult. So that became extra hard, I think, for those of us who were struggling with some of those internal scars.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And it's like exacerbated by technology too,
100%.
right? Like
Yeah.
it's really easy to be a keyboard troll and not ever say what you say behind a keyboard to a person's face because you're going to get all of that nonverbal feedback about the fact that you're acting like a jerk. So it is really hard. Do you feel that as a female, your journey was harder because there was this assumption around being emotional?
Yeah, I do think that was a big part of it. I definitely think that was part of it. I think part of it too was that part of my journey is I had lost a child. And as soon as any doctor saw that in my medical record, that was it. They didn't look further. It was instantly tagged, oh, she's depressed. That's what it is. She's a mom who lost a baby and she's depressed. And there was nothing that looked further than that. Even though I had lost my child at the point, even when I first got sick, was 5 or 6 years before that. So it wasn't even, was I sad? Do I still cry when I talk about losing my child? Sometimes, yeah, I do that because I'm human and it was a really horrible experience. But yeah, so I definitely think that was part of my journey. And I'm even experiencing that now. Like I'm perimenopausal right now and I'm going through like a lot of hormonal changes. I'm struggling horribly with migraines and it has taken me the last year. Like I've been just, I'm on like my third medication trying to control these. And every doctor I see is like, well, let's try an antidepressant. I'm like, I'm not depressed. Like, I don't need an antidepressant. I'm not depressed. I'm hormonal. Like my estrogen's high and my everything's low. And to get a doctor who is willing to just test my hormones? Is it so hard? Like, why isn't this part of my normal routine? Why isn't this part of my fit? Why don't we have a baseline of this, everyone? And when I'm coaching women who are sitting in my office, I'm like, when is the last time you had your hormones checked? Have you had your hormones checked? Do you even know where your hormones are? Has any doctor even thought about that? And as women, why aren't we talking about that more? Why isn't that something we're addressing? So being a woman going through some things, I do think it's definitely, there's just that sort of attitude of like, oh, give her an antidepressant. She's anxious. Like, no, I'm not anxious. I don't have any hormones. That's the problem. I think that's a huge part of the medical field right now. And again, it's the same with Lyme. Like, if a doctor's not trained in Lyme, they don't know. And I wouldn't want a doctor to try to treat me who's not trained in Lyme, but please refer me to somebody who is. Like, hey, I don't know anything about Lyme, but New Hope Wellness in Alexandria, Minnesota, they do fantastic. Or, hey, I don't really know anything about hormones, but this person here, fantastic for hormones. Go get checked out. Instead of making women feel like, oh, she's anxious, she's depressed. No. Well, hey, why don't you get your hormones checked out and see if that helps? And if that doesn't help, then we'll check everything else. Then we'll try that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think being a woman, definitely there's some injustice there.
Yes. Well, and that was kind of the feeling that I got when we had our conversation too, because not only were they accusing you of drug seeking, but they told you were crazy. These are words that are associated with females regularly. Oh, you're dramatic, you're emotional, you're being too much in some way, instead of witnessing the lived experience of the person who's sitting across the table from you. It's one of the things that I see in my practice all the time as well, is women coming in who have been gaslit by OBGYNs and other medical practitioners, where they're like, I don't feel right in my body. And they go, oh, well, here's a pill, or we can cut it out, or something of that nature, instead of being like, okay, well, tell me like completely what's going on. And I chalk it up as an Eastern medicine practitioner to the fact that there's a limited set of tools that they come out of their medical training with. And it's not their fault. It's
Right.
the system that they're trained in. Right. And then they're now being also driven by insurance companies who tell them how long they can sit with a person and how much they have to bill and all of these things in order to be able to actually continue to see people.
Yes.
And so that model is not allowing them, because I mean, I don't know a single practitioner that I've ever encountered that went to medical school because they wanted to be a slave to the system. They go into medical school because they want to help people, right? And then the system molds them into the practitioners that they become.
100%. Yes.
And
I'm over here going, yes.
yeah. So like, I have compassion for that. They are a product of their system. But the part that people are, I think, are starting to clamor for, scream for, be insistent of now is the fact that we're more than a sum of parts. We're a whole, complete person. And this is what I love about your practice model, is the fact that, yes, you're dealing with the physiological symptoms of what people are dealing with, but you're also sitting with their emotional wellness. And our spiritual body, our emotional body, our physical body are interconnected. And that isn't the way that things are taught in traditional school.
No. Well, and it's more than that too. All that you said, like, I'm like, yes, like you and I are like, yes, like right on with each other. But the other aspect of that is the generations before us were taught and trained to trust doctors. That was maybe okay for a while because the doctors of those generations were family doctors who literally caught you when you came out of the birth canal and were with you when you had your own babies and had that kind of connection and relationship with you, right? And maybe you could trust most of those doctors. But just like you just said, now doctors have 15 minutes to figure out your life problems and they don't have that connection. I think one of my biggest lessons and something I preach to women and everybody all the time, my own takeaway from Lyme is that you have got to learn to advocate for yourself. You have to be brave enough to advocate for yourself. If I would not have pushed and advocated for myself, I would still be incredibly sick, or I would not be here. I may not be here just because I was that sick. And not just through my Lyme journey, there has been many times throughout my life that I have had to take that lesson again throughout the medical field. And so if you are not getting results that you need from your provider and you cannot question them, or you cannot feel like you have that relationship with them, then you need to keep looking. If you're not getting what you need in whatever treatment for whatever condition that you have, there is a provider out there. There is a healer out there. There is somebody out there that is going to help you get the answers that you need. And you have to advocate for yourself, and you have to keep looking until you find them. That is a huge takeaway, I think, from the medical field and the medical world.
I love that there is somebody for you. You just have to keep looking.
You just have to keep looking till you find them.
I love that. I encounter that a lot with my clients. Usually by the time they reach me, they're like, so if you told me to eat raw chicken and stand naked underneath the full moon in order to get the results, I would do it, because I'm so desperate for change right now that I would do it. And I'm like, well, lucky for you. I might be woo, but I will not have you do that. So
I know. I laugh about that all the time, because we have a naturopathic doctor here, Dr. Lee, and she's been a naturopathic doctor for, I think, like 30 or 40 years. She's amazing. And anytime I need anything like that stumped anyone else, I go to her. And she just never lets me down. Her knowledge is so amazing. And I always say, if she tells me to dance naked around the fire, I'm doing it. I don't care. I will do whatever she tells me to do. And I trust her. And that's just how you get that way. You find the ones you can trust. You find the ones you know who are going to help you. And whatever they tell you to do, you do it, because you know that they're right.
It's so important to build that care team that you can trust around you. So important. And I say this to my clients, and I've said this in past episodes of the podcast too, is like, your body intuition never lies to you. So if you get that hinky feeling in your body where you're like, I don't know if I believe that, or I don't know if I feel good about that, like, keep going.
Always listen.
Yeah, that little voice never lies to you.
Never.
Keep going. Keep pursuing, keep asking questions, continue to be curious, because you will find the person that gives you the answers, the response, the explanation, the testing, whatever it is, that you go, oh, that makes total sense.
Yes, 100%. Yes. Yeah.
I love this. So I really wanted this because I haven't had too many conversations about Lyme, and I think it's a growing area that awareness is really important in terms of what valuable resources there are out there for people, because things feel so mysterious when symptoms begin.
Yeah.
So if people are looking for your practice, where can we send them?
So our website is lyme-hope.org, and that'll give you all the information you need to know about us. We are in Minnesota in Alexandria. And if you're looking for me from a coaching perspective, you can find me at coachaimeejay.com, and that's AIMEEJAY. Yeah. And right now I'm on all the socials. That's all on my website, and all of our socials for the clinic are on our website as well. So
beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for having this conversation with me about your beautiful work and how to care for the whole person. And until next time, everybody.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been great.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist and acutonics practitioner, herbalist, and Chinese nutritional therapist Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like and follow us at Moon Essence Me on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.